And last week we had no demos. We talked about harvest, and this week copy, pasting, boom, boom. We are 5, 6, 5, and there will maybe be demos, and there will probably be harvest topics, and I'm not touching anything because it will be the same.
Yes, I have a big update for Harvest. I just posted the link for the registration to be a speaker at our event. I posted it on many channels, but also if you open please the orchardcore.net/harvest page, I also posted the link there as well. And yeah, and I only wanted you to open it because I wanted to share with you that I edited this page. I'm really proud of myself.
That's why it's in italic. Why is it in italic?
What?
It's in italic. Italic. It's
I'm
like
not
bent.
sure.
It's bent.
That wasn't me. That was the...
Oh, that's yeah. Blend the people. Okay.
It's core design.
Let me fix it. How do we fix CSS here? Good. Let me fix it. You see? Now it's better.
Yeah, I see. But that wasn't my... I edited the speaker part. That's also the same way, but that's not the thing. The most important thing is that you have the link there, and please register to be a speaker. Also, you will get free tickets for the event if you are a speaker. So I'm looking forward to receive the applications.
So much hope. It's beautiful to be young and be hopeful.
Yeah, I also think that you are hoping as well. Yeah, but now you edited my part as well.
Here, I fixed it. Click, and then you fill it. Beautiful. I will need to fix it there. Okay, thank you. Copy link and put it here. Beautiful, beautiful. Oh yeah, it's gone. Demos, we have demos. No demos. Okay. Status. Do you have status? Yes, we do status. All the time, more status. Nothing, not one. Optical. Where is that? I'm double click this one. Oh, this is some from React last week, and then we were 29. So let's start here. Here, remove default GitHubHandler implementation, because we can use the library. Why am I in this mode? Okay, we can use AspNet.Security.OAuth.GitHub library. And then we did the old code. And have a new configuration class. The anti-define secrets, same thing. Okay. Thank you, Mike. Rename from appsettings.json to appsettings.json. Oh, in the doc. Here. Sure. Fix table formats in docs. I'm not sure why. In this case, okay, this is a line. This is a line. This is a missing pipe. Same thing here. And stuff. Fixation format. This was merged by mistake, but okay. Now it's merged. Let's keep it. Changing every sample that is JSON to add current brace before. So it looks like JSON, at least. So cleaning up the JSON doc. Missing columns. Maybe also. And then we have backport of the change that George did to use preload of the site settings, and then so we can get them synchronously. So we talked about it last week. It's in the release to one branch. So next patch release, we have that. Remove deprecated link from password documentation. I don't know why, but I clicked the link and it's not there anymore. So I removed the link. There used to be a blog post from Seeker about how to check. Oh, yeah, I was looking for what default we had. And then I looked at this page. And I don't think, by the way, these are the defaults. These are not the defaults. You see, so this is an example, and that confused me. So maybe we should have defaults here. Can we create a file called blah, blah, blah with this configuration JSON? This is showing how to change the settings for the password, but I could not find the default. So I found the default by understanding that we don't touch anything and we just keep the default identity options from AspNet. And but I found it online. Maybe we should have the default options displayed somewhere, not in the setup screen, but in the doc, because these are not the default. Everything is true, for instance. We require digit that not alphanumeric at this value. Fixed typo, some more typo somewhere. Here we go. Type. Remove unnecessary ValidateAntiForgeryToken from everywhere because it's enabled by default in Orchard through a filter. Then George applied cancellation token source to your cancellation of a workflow by activity. What does by activities mean? workflow execution context.
You can now cancel the workflow from within an activity.
Oh, I see what
For example,
mean.
if you resume workflow.
Because you have access to the context, and you have
and we have a cancel.
Beautiful. Cancel. Cancel. This is cancel, and on the dispose, you dispose the source. How is the workflow execution context? And here
it's not actually disposed, but I added it for future improvements.
Okay. But this could be disclosed. This should. Okay, we used to have a cancellation token, but not accessible from the context. Now it's accessible. Okay.
No, there was no cancellation token source.
No, but there was a token, and now there is.
Yeah, but that's default.
Okay. ImageSharp update 315. It's been a long time. Updates, and updates. What? 3 doesn't be. Oh, I haven't shipped 3. I shipped Preload, but I haven't shipped 3. Didn't I? No, I merged Preload and 3, but I didn't ship 3. Okay. Well, there is no new fleet since last week. Surprising. Whatever. That's it for the updates. What else? Questions, comments, topics.
Can you get that PR, the AI demo now? I don't think I've been busy.
Yeah, exactly. If you've been busy, there must be a demo.
Nope. And the PR that we looked at last week about the form, what is it called? Let me see. Form visibility settings or something. Yeah, add custom form visibility settings. I think it's left for you if you can comment on it, and then we can move forward with it.
Okay, so we commented about security things. I had a question about, this, I got an answer, but that's not the answer I wanted. What I expected. It's a fine answer about that. Like, we look at the code, there is a greater than, there is an equal, but there is not a greater than or equal. So people are supposed to do greater than and also or equal. Like in C#, you don't have the greater than or equal, you have to strictly greater or equal. That's kind of weird, but that's okay. And I have legislative questions and security questions. So let's look at the PR changes. We got a demo of this feature a month ago. New assets, JavaScript on the client side to verify that the values are correct. For example, you see here, contains that's not contained. Starts, ends, greater than, quickly. And if you want greater than or equal, you have to be greater than. And a new or rule and say is. Okay, is. U is not. Okay. Then projects. No. Yeah. So I made a comment about culture support because when it was looking at a value, it was doing a parse float, but I said, what if the decimal separator is not dot, but comma, because, for instance, in French, Spanish, it's what is used. So now I see there is a code to say, well, let's replace this thing by that. But what if it's found now? I mean, maybe there are only commas and dots for decimal separator, but I'm not sure.
No, this is wrong. You can have 1,000 separator.
Yeah, the comma could be a 1,000 separator, so that would break everything now.
Yeah.
Also, parse float, that one doesn't really work with our other like languages, like Arabic, for example. It must be English. So
here I have, so space, so it's not this, it's just group separator, so that would work. So yeah, for some English-speaking countries use comma, while many, but what are there other ones? I wonder. But yeah, so it's too written of the thing. So languages, how to parse. So is that like how it works everywhere? JavaScript is so limited. So I don't have an answer. Maybe this is just that, so we can investigate that. So that will solve most users, but it's not your problem. Okay, so and even just changing commas and dots, as George explained, this could be wrong because in English this means 1,000 separators. So now we'll change the 1,000 into a dot. So that's kind of risky. So yeah, maybe an option would be to take the current server side number format information and code it into JavaScript. So we can use whatever is on the server side. So let's take instead of using comma here, let's use number info dot decimal separator, for instance. So some things like this, and then test with Arabic, French, English, and should at least solve something. Greek, Hebrew, Russian, whatever, Cyrillic, so something like that. And maybe we also already have some code like this doing that. For instance, let's check what, we send it on the server side. We do server-side validation for the number field, numeric field. So this is So that, then I don't see the old comments there. Yeah. No. Okay. And classes, that's my stuff. No classes. Widgets management. It's some advanced thing. So this we mentioned as a security issue. So where is it now? Parse JSON. Where is JSON coming from? Data true data model. So that's safer. So before that, there was the model that was serialized within JavaScript, and this could have contained single quotes that would break the JSON, and you could enter whatever you want in JavaScript. So the solution is to render as an attribute here. See the model, and what's happening is that it will become a string, a valid XML string, and then it will be loaded, and then it will be parsed directly. There won't be a string serialization in between, directly inside the JavaScript. This is from the DOM. It can't break things. The idea being that here there was a single quote, and if your JSON had a single quote, you could break the thing here, the string, and break out of the string. Now this would be a valid JSON. There is no more a single quote at the beginning, so this is safe. And this is because the string contains the options for model and the rules. Okay. This is a conversion from the UI to the thing that will be used in JavaScript. Qt.js. Okay, this one, what is that? Why is it here and not? In the view. It works here, but not in the view. Also, yeah. Well, this will still be evaluated every time because current culture. Oh, something I can check. Is there server-side validation also?
No, there isn't.
So there has
And
to
I
be.
don't think we care. This is just
Why?
visibility settings for the form. The validation would be handled by other things like workflow or whatnot.
It's just visibility, so that's good. That's weird. So what is that? This is the field that allow every single thing. Okay. Look at Preload. Job fixing that here too. Okay. Just almost half a thing because it's just checking the parsing is correct. This works today for most of the things, but it can break if you use the comma 4000 separator, and then maybe see if in JavaScript there is a better way to enter internationalization, or just use the server-side data that we have. That will work at least. Good. It should be merged by Thursday for sure. And if it's using the exchange,
so hold on, you want him to change the comma here to use the decimal separator instead?
At least. If the exchange uses the server side decimal separator.
Honestly, I would just say use parse integer or float as is, and don't try to monkey around with it.
Then because you can't inject anything without. Then you say just parse float without just taking the dot. So on the server side, we use the culture info, okay, from the query, which means if you parse a dot and on the server side we use a comma, then you won't be able to see the field if you were supposed to see it and change it, and then the form will be broken completely, right? So you have to match.
No, because we don't do any server side validation.
No, I'm not talking about validation. Talking about visibility. If you have a form and you need to be able to see the number in the form, to change it, to set it, to remove it, to update it, and the server side uses a comma and the client side uses a dot, then you won't see the form input that you want to change and that you need to change. Example, you have a validation on the server side that says the value needs to be greater than 1000. But the visibility prevents you to see it because it says, no, I don't read this value. I can't understand it because it has a comma inside. Then you won't be able to change it, and the server validation will fail, and you will never be able to submit your form. So this
I think it makes it default. The default is to make it visible, I think. So either way, it will be visible if the rule didn't pass or something, or he couldn't. I haven't looked at the code right now, but if you
use the server side, and then we won't have to talk about the default in this case and then in this case, because tomorrow it can be broken and people will be blocked. It should be easy. Just use whatever the server side says. We'll try. Can set French. Let's see what's happening. Yeah, in this case, yeah. Or even if it passes it because it's such as a comma. Now you have an English number with a comma, and then it will say, no, it should not be visible because it's not greater than 1000. It's 1. Hey, I typed 1,000. It is 1000, so it's valid. I should be able to see it. Something like that. Yeah. How does it work, by the way?
Or in that case, maybe just remove all non-digits numbers, except for a dot.
Again, you see, except for dot, yeah, but sometimes it's comma, sometimes it's dot, and sometimes comma means decimal, and sometimes it means thousands. And this is just thinking about the ones we know. Then someone from Serbia will come and tell you, no, that's not how it works for me. And we're like, sorry, you can't edit your field. So I have a question though. So what is the goal of the feature with numbers? How does it work? Can you say, I don't want to see the number field if it's not greater than 1000, something like that?
Yeah.
But then how do you type the value if you can't see it?
Well, so let's say you have a first value and a second value. And let's say second value is only visible if the first value is greater than 10. Okay, good.
So you see, you have an example here. So if you type something in the format that is understood by JavaScript, just to be able to see the second, the server won't be able to understand it when you submit it. And inversely, if you are not supposed to see the second value, so this has to match the server side because we have validation. Not only validation, but just even parsing and storing the value in the database as a number. So we parse the number with a specific format. So if the client doesn't follow it, there is a mismatch and it won't work. It's funny because we had the same discussion years ago with Pierre from Lombiq Dev. We wanted to add the validation on the server side for that thing. And it didn't work because it was using a different logic than the server side. So we didn't take the PR. There were some issues like this. If it doesn't match exactly, then you get in a blocking state. Because it either doesn't work on the server side or either doesn't work on the client side, and then you can never change the value if the two logics don't work. Maybe some inspiration to take from the AspNet validation, client-side validation. There is a new thing, I know. There is not a new thing, it's just support for minimal APIs, but maybe there is something to look into for AspNet side validation. Required. There is a number. So can you do, for instance, a range? If you can do a range in okay, it's using jQuery validation plugin. I'm not sure. Let's look at that, for instance. Maybe that's what we need. Yeah, that's not it. That must be the integration itself. two things pointing to the same thing. So that's, I think that the link is incorrect. So we just need to click at that. Password required, first name is the name. Application. Vendors. Member of device. What we want. Make the element require a decimal number, so that's what we want. Number true, will see true. 1.2. This is a valid number. Yeah, it's validating, so it doesn't. You see, it says it's not a valid number, but how can we set the culture? Like in France, it will be a valid number. So that's everyday's jQuery validation plugin. Or can I substitute? I don't
think it supports multi-languages.
That must be a way. I asked ChatGPT like that when you use your own AI stuff. Okay, so we have feedback. Let's see how it goes. If we can't find them, we'll find a way. The decimal separator keys. What do you have? What did we do here? So the issue being that we have.
It's about renaming the key for data protection. And
where, not here. So in the current code, we have the parentheses here. So all the keys are with that. It works. It's just ugly. It doesn't make sense to have the parentheses here. So
it's not pretty.
That's pretty. So the goal is to remove it without breaking existing sites. Yeah. So by the way, that's
my idea was just to copy the existing key, which will be backward compatible.
Yeah. So
but it's still
about that
can
feature.
break.
About that feature, discussion with Mike and Kevin also interjected, and we looked at the documentation. This feature here, nobody should do if you don't know what you're doing, because
you need to
storing
have persistence in
Redis. It's by default it will store the encryption keys in Redis. But if you restart your Redis instance, then you lose your persistence key. So for cookies, it's fine. You just ask customers to just reopen the window and re-authenticate. But if you have secrets inside, like passwords, encrypted passwords, well, if you have encrypted passwords using these keys, or you have workflow tokens, or whatever that use data protection, then you're stuck. You lost that. So you just use this feature if your Redis database or instance is configured as persistent, meaning every key that will be stored in Redis will be stored on the file system, and you have a backup. Otherwise, you will have breaking features. So when Mike had this issue, or whenever this user, I think it was Mike, who had this issue that the site didn't work after the change. I mean, yes, it's broken, but why do you use that? Like, do you have a Redis that is persisted? And that's required. If you look at the doc for the feature in the AspNet side, it says Redis should be persisted. The safe option is don't use this thing. Use database, use blob storage, because we have that too. Might be using that. instead of using that. But here, that's interesting. So you say, let's remove the thing from the key. But if when we start, it's just on startup, right? Is it a migration?
Startup, right? Yeah. No migration.
No migration.
If the key doesn't exist, then try to copy the old one.
Yeah.
That's all.
And this could be removed in the future, in a long time version. Okay.
Correct.
And do you add logging to say we detected your key was changed?
Only
Actually, you should add
only if it's failing.
Yeah, I will add it even if it's not failing. Like, hey, we detected that you had those keys. In case for, like, in case something, we tell them.
Yeah, I don't know.
As a warning, I would add a log to say we migrated your stuff. Be careful. If you were using the key somewhere else, we changed it. Doesn't hurt. I would do that. Sorry.
Yeah, it's right, because if you have another node which continues to use the old one, you will fail.
For instance, yeah. So and then we might not know why.
It's only meant for upgrading all of your nodes in a safe way.
Cool. Yeah, it looks good too. Well,
I just thought it
the code
makes more sense than having a migration.
I don't know. Migration. Oh, I see. Migration runs once. Yeah. And you could still, every node could still read the value if it exists or read the new value. So you need to.
So for this feature, if you're using a Redis that is not persistence, how does it work?
It works.
It's as long as Redis is
works.
up. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
If you have a restart, a reboot, whatever, then you've lost your keys.
But doesn't it automatically writes it on the?
No, there is no fallback. Your supposition was that you can have two data stores, and it will use Redis, and if it doesn't find it in Redis, it will use the file system. No, that doesn't exist. Something like this doesn't exist by default. You could create a store that has a failover of two stores, but we are not using that, and I haven't seen that existing. And even if it was the case, it would be per node, which is not what Redis is doing. So then it would mean that each system will have a different key, which is even worse, or as bad as not having the keys.
So for me, for example, in my environment, the keys are being stored in blob storage, but I do believe this feature is also enabled.
So what will happen is the last registered data protection store will be used. You might have 10 of them enabled, but only one will be used in the order of registration, hence dependency or whatever, or database registration for the features, shell blueprints and all of them. So it works today, but you have to check where it's actually stored. If it's in the blob store, I assume it's in the storage because I don't know. You have to check where it is actually stored.
Oh, it is stored for sure in the blob storage.
Disable Redis
because
and don't use that. Yeah.
In a data protection, in the data protection folder, all the keys are stored.
Yeah, good. Then disable Redis and try to see if it's still working. It should. We should almost have a warning in the settings of this thing, like, hey, you enable Redis.
It sounds like we should delete this feature if it's a problematic.
Well,
what's the point of it if it?
As long as you have persistence, which some people use, then it's fine. It might be cheaper, faster than using blob storage. If you are not on Azure, for instance, you could have Redis on your own cluster because that's what you use for persisting your thing. So that's totally fine. We could suggest that in the startup, we check using a Redis API that it's not persistent, and then put a big warning, a banner to say you are using Redis password store, protection store, but you don't use persistence. Stop something. Don't do that.
So I just looked at one of the tenants that I'm running, and it does not have that key stored on the blob storage.
Blob storage.
And some of them, yeah. So some of them are, and some of them aren't.
Okay.
So there's definitely a problem.
Make a backup. Connect on Redis and do a backup. And then it depends on what it's used for. Like if you have SMTP passwords, which we use data protection for, if you have workflows with tokens, then we use data protection. All these things, yeah. Maybe we do in this tenant.
Do we have a code to say write them on storage? Like take the key and just write it?
The key? Yes, you can use it. Yes, you can use the. Let me show you. So first, the usage of the API is iData Protector, which we get by using a data protection service, but get data protector, something like that. Okay. So we resolve data protection provider, and then we say, give me the data protector. And each data protector has custom characteristics like time-based or per machine or whatever. See here, create protector, and we have an iData protector. So from the provider itself, you can get the so there is an iData protection repository or something like that. Does someone know? Oh, it's called XML or serializer or something.
XML repository or something like that.
Yeah, because the interface can store, so XML repository. Okay, so that's the thing here. So the XML repository is the interface. So if you resolve that, you can access the keys. It's an XML document. It's multiple XML document because it can get expired and then a new one is created to encrypt. But when you try to decrypt, it will try to load also the old one until it's deleted completely because there is a time. So there is get all elements and store elements. Store element creates a new element. Get all elements gives you all the keys that were keys. The keys that were used, that were stored historically. The last one being the one used to encrypt. Okay, so you can use XML repository to read it and to do a backup. Could be a feature like data protection backup, and then it uses the current repository that the system is using and lets you export
this feature sounds nothing but trouble to me, because you could configure the Redis, right? You can have the connection, and you can choose to make it not persistent because you don't care to persist. And then someone would just enable that feature not knowing what they're doing. And, you know, a year later, they're like, oh, my site is broken. I don't know what I did. I just disabled that feature and everything is broken.
That's why
I restarted.
To improve something like that, to have a banner to detect that whatever Redis is used right now, the database, there must be a property or call, an API to say, are you persistent? And it will tell us yes, no. If it says no, we say, no, you can't enable that because your Redis is not persistent.
Yep, or that. Yep, because without that, it's a problem.
Or just a warning, not disable the thing, because in your case, it will break your site because we're like, no, we can't use it.
Yeah.
See what I mean? Okay.
Yeah. Well.
So go on your Redis instance, look for the old key, and save the value, which must be an XML document, and then store it on the blob storage for the tenant, and then enable the blob storage and disable the Redis thing, and it should be transparent.
I was thinking just to create a new service, a startup on startup that would just take that XML repository and call the get all elements and then save them to the file system.
Yeah, just do it for yourself because that's safe to implement. Yeah, cool. Okay, thanks, George. A little bit of logging and it will be good.
Yeah. All right.
Or maybe what we can do is create maybe a recipe in Orchard. At least if someone in that situation, they can just run it and it will just copy the keys. No,
you don't want to export the keys, like the same way we don't disclose even the encrypted passwords or whatever. That's part of the secrets.
No, the recipe, by that I mean just read the keys and write them to the file system, not show the keys to anyone.
No, but do it for yourself. That is part actually of the secrets PR that will do it correctly, to be able to exchange these secrets between machines. When you deploy, this way you can also deploy your key. Backup, so part of it. Just do a backup of your release. Enable persistence and look at all the databases you have and save your XML. Copy paste. I'm sure you can do a script in Redis also to do that. Or ask ChatGPT to give you the script to do that. It will tell you like in 5 seconds for sure. So Copilot, you can use Copilot. Yeah. Okay, next PR. Just to look at what's happening. Get all culture and aliases. So let's see what it is. Get culture, all culture, get all culture. Okay, actually we have a method for that. This is just formatting, then after text name, display name, culture name, get culture, get all cultures and aliases. Which goes all cultures and aliases. On your binary.
Almost the same.
Yeah, because it's not returning the aliases here. And do you actually want to see the aliases here? What is that? What I do here? AI search index settings displayed from search index setting. And then we will return also these ones. Okay, well, it doesn't look bad to me. Be good.
Go ahead and merge it right away.
I don't trust on why. Okay, I trust. Fine. Good. Fix that Renovate tries, blah, 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 because we don't want this thing to be updated for time. Interesting. So the time. What is that? At RecipeSchema, RecipeStepHandler. Wow, schema. Oh, I my pen. Okay, so where are we? RecipeStepHandler, new classes. Schema where RecipeStepHandler. What? Serialize object to the string, parse to the string. Looks weird. Choose an object. We'll look at it on Thursday. I have more time. It's time to go. So it's done. Questions, comments? Beautiful. Craftsman, we haven't heard you today. You're the JavaScript expert. You didn't say anything. Were you there when we talked about the?
I'm currently working on trying to fix the build of Orchard Core Commerce.
Okay.
So I was kind of listening with just one ear.
Okay, good.
But yeah, just link me something
wait.
if there's some. Yeah.
Were you coding with one ear?
Oh yeah, two. Just one hand, two.
Half a brain.
Okay.
Good one.
Yeah, at the beginning we talked about parsing numbers in JavaScript using the current culture. Like, so it works whatever the culture of Orchard is. Like if it's Canadian and you don't use the dot as a decimal separator, or if whatever the language is. That's what we talked about. We cannot find an answer.
Doesn't ring a bell for now.
You think about it. Watch the meeting recording.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll do.
Okay, thanks everyone. See you on Thursday. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.